Hello, this is Brennan from Gongs Unlimited, and I'm here with another stand assembly video. This time it's for one of our very own, the Welcoming C-Stand, that I believe is new around here. It is a C-Stand that is capable of a gong up to 26 inches, and when you first pull it out of its box, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like. And then these are the tools you need. It's just this. An adjustable wrench. It's going to be wrapped up in this plastic, and you're going to have this piece of paper which is going to have instructions about how to do it. But guess what? Not good enough for you. That's why you got me, a professional. The first thing that you're going to want to do is take off the feet. The feet for shipping are locked into place using the wing nut and the bolt that you're going to use to rebuild the stand, but it's all on backwards. So the first thing we're going to have to do is take these wing nuts and, wait, what is that? You can't get them. That's why we got this adjustable wrench. You're going to take your adjustable wrench and then you're going to get it on to the bolts in any meaningful way you can, onto the head of the bolt. So then you can unscrew the wing nut and get that foot off of there. Here's the head, and I'm going to put that aside. I'm actually going to put all this aside because, like I said, the hardware used to keep these in place is the hardware that we're going to use to attach it all later on. And so you're going to have a bolt, you're going to have a wing nut, and you're going to have two black washers on each one of these connections from the foot to the frame. And that's going to be on each side. And so now I've got my foot separated, and with it I have the wing nut, a bolt, two black washers. And we're going to do the same thing right on the other foot. Grab it here, and then if you don't want to hold the wrench, once you have it a little bit loosened like this, now you can kind of just press down on the head of that bolt if you prefer that. And just screw this wing nut off. Same thing. Wing nut, bolt, two washers, and now 2 feet. Next step, unwrapping these. They got a layer of this kind of soft bubble wrap and then a plastic underneath. So I'm going to unwrap them now. Now we're left with our stand, we're left with our 2 feet, and the 2 sets of single wing nut, a bolt, and then 2 washers. So we have 4 black washers, 2 holes, and so we're going to have one of those washers on each side of the contact point. And so our setup is going to go bolt, washer, stand, and then we're going to bring our foot up, the notch of that foot meeting the bottom of that stand snugly. We have another black washer, and we're going to put that on before we attach the wing nut. And the wing nut, you should be able to get a little bit of a start, but as you start to get to the end, you may have trouble holding it on with just your finger like I'm doing. This is another point where you would use the adjustable wrench and get it nice and tight, decently tight, on the head of that bolt, and then you can tighten that wing nut more. Now what we want here with both of these feet at this stage is held on so they're not flopping around, but we still want a little bit of wiggle like what you see here. We want to move it just a little bit. The reason for that, I'll explain in a little second. And we're going to do the same thing on the other foot. And now we got our feet loosely on, we'll flip our stand up. So now that we've got our stand set up vertically, the thing we have to do is make sure that the stand is sitting properly on the ground. And this is where it's important that we didn't really crank those bolts tight earlier. Because as you can see, if we let gravity do its job, push it down a little bit, sit everything in the grooves, when these bolts tighten and untighten, there's a slight movement to the foot. And what you'll notice is if you crank these bolts so tight, or rather as tight as you can, the tightening of this bolt is essentially over dictating where this foot can sit. And it's a delicate balance between a slight contact point in the metal that allows it to actually sit down perfectly. So if we leave a little bit of wiggle room, literally, this is still tight, plenty tight for it to hold everything in place, but not just crushing it. That lets the stand relax into the floor. And so these are now, instead of being uptight like this, these feet are more set on the floor and there's no wiggle to it. Last thing to do is hang a gong. I have right here a beautiful 26-inch Atlantis gong, with 26 being the maximum size that the welcoming stand can hold. And so you're going to have your gong already pre-strung to whatever distance it came, either from us at Gongs Unlimited or from whatever stand you had it on last. So once you got your gong that you're going to put on this stand, you're going to hang it up and see if it needs an adjustment. As you can see, it's not hitting anything. There's still, dare I say, 3 hands worth on the bottom, but it's not exactly the most beautiful fit. I think it would look a little nicer if it was more centered in the gong. And so I'm going to take this rope off, undo the knot, and reset it. So with these over top knots, which is the easiest one to adjust to height, and it's how it would come if you bought a gong from us. The easiest way to adjust it is to grab your knot and then loosen it, and then we're going to pull the slack from the bottom here. In this instance, we're too low to the ground, so we're going to pull the slack from the bottom, and then we can just keep mental track of how much higher we're pulling it. If your gong is too high up to the top and you want to bring it down, then you do the same thing, loosen the knot, except this time for you would pull the slack from a top down. But for us, we need to pull slack from here. And so I'm just going to hold this aspect of the knot in place, and I'm going to slide more material from the bottom, and then I'm going to hold the knot like that and then pull it down. I'm holding the knot's location, and now that there's slack in that knot, I'm going to pull towards the area I want that slack to go. So I want it to come up top, so I would grab the loose knot, and then I would hold it in my hand like this, and then pull that slack away from where it came. Simple as that. Give it another hang. So this might be a little higher than you want it, but if you like being high, then it's perfect. Then you just cut that excess rope that you've pulled through, and now you've got your perfect 26-inch gong and your welcoming stand. And the first thing you might notice, and you might go, oh no, what's happening, is when you put a gong on this stand, especially one of these bronze Chinese gongs, the second that the weight hits the stand itself, it kind of buckles. It bends down. Part of the design. There's a spring to it. The design of this C-stand is meant to have a spring into it. But if you're hitting it usually, you're going to get maybe a little bit of that spring, but it's not going to be very obvious. So don't fear when you first grab your gong stand out of the box, set it up, and you got a little movement to it. That is to be expected. But otherwise, this is the welcoming stand from Gongs Unlimited. It's a perfect floor stand for all of your gong needs 26 and under. It's, as you can see, very easy to put together and beautifully made. That's it from me. I'm Brennan, gongsunlimited.com, but you're on the YouTube channel. Either way, still Gongs Unlimited. Have a good day.